Seated Representative-elect Adelita Grijalva. There's now a lawsuit about this. They say there's no dispute about her election or her qualifications, and add this. Speaker Johnson wishes to delay seating Ms. Grijalva to prevent her from signing a discharge petition that would force a vote on the release of the Epstein files and or to strengthen his hand in the ongoing budget and appropriations negotiations. Why hasn't she been sworn in? What's your response to the lawsuit?
Oh, this is so ridiculous, and we could take 30 minutes to talk about all this, but Rep-elect Grijalva will be sworn in as soon as we get back to regular session. Remember, it's the Democrats who shut the Congress down, so we can't do that.
Can you not swear her in, though, when you're not operating in regular?
There is a precedent for doing a pro forma session swearing in, but we're not engaging in regular business right now. And what I'm doing is following the Pelosi precedent in the past when she was Speaker, and you had representatives elected during special elections, special situations. When Congress was on recess or out, she would wait until the regular session to do it. I'm doing the exact same thing. But the Epstein thing is a complete red herring. It's a distraction from what's going on right now and them causing harm to the American people with the shutdown. The Epstein estate documents are out. The Epstein files are out. 43,000 pages so far, more on the way. Subpoenas are being complied with. The House Oversight Committee, which is filled with some of the biggest guard dogs in Congress on the right and the left, Republican and Democrat, are dug in deeply. In the last 2 weeks, while we've been on shutdown, they've released the flight logs, the personal financial ledgers, the daily calendars of Epstein himself. The lawyers are continuing to dig through and release all that. We're for maximum transparency, always have been. They're using this for a political issue, and it's patently obvious what's going on.
Breaking news from Mike Johnson. Republicans are reportedly pushing for full transparency regarding the Epstein file. Thousands of documents have been already released, which sounds promising. However, there is a catch. Of the roughly 33,000 pages released by the DOJ through the Oversight Committee, about 97% were already public. Meanwhile, the DOJ is still withholding hundreds of thousands of pages that have yet to be released, despite Pam Bondi pointing that out months ago.
The DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients? Will that really happen?
It's sitting on my desk right now to review. That's been a directive by President Trump. I'm reviewing that. I'm reviewing JFK files, MLK files. That's all in the process of being reviewed because that was done at the directive of the president from all of these agencies.
Despite having the authority to unilaterally bring the release of the Epstein file to a vote, Mike Johnson has not done so. In fact, he is actively blocking Representative-elect Grijalva from being sworn in, a move that prevents her from becoming the 218th vote needed to force the release of those very files. The irony is hard to miss. The same person publicly calling for the maximum transparency is the one standing in the way of any real transparency. Johnson has also cited the Pelosi president. But what he fails the moment is that Speaker Pelosi delayed swearing in by 25 days only because the lawmaker requested a specific date. In contrast, Grijalva has been openly pleading with Johnson to administer her oath of office and has even posted videos urging him to do so.
Hi, it's me again, still Adelita, and still Congresswoman-elect. I have not been sworn in. It's been 36 days since our election, and we have surpassed waiting the longest of anyone in recent history. And so if you're sick of me coming on and saying I'm still not yet sworn in, guess what? I'm sick of it too. I want to be sworn in, working for Arizona, and being at the table when these important discussions are being made. And so I want to thank you all for your support, continuing to follow this journey, and as soon as I have an update, I'll let you know.
So no, it's not exactly the Pelosi president, is it? And to make matters worse, Mike Johnson himself has already broken his own rule about swearing in the member-elect during the pro forma session. He swore in two Republican lawmakers that way just a few months ago. It perfectly illustrates the broader point. Republicans will invent whatever rule suits them in the moment. Remember when Barack Obama nominated Merrick Garland and Mitch McConnell suddenly declared that a Supreme Court nominee could not get a hearing in an election year if the Senate was controlled by the opposing party? That the rule come completely out of thin air, but they need some excuse, any excuse to justify refusing vote on Obama's nominee. And honestly, if it had not been an election year, they would have found another reason. You cannot hold a hearing if the opposite party just gained a majority or if there was not a census in the last 5 years or if the nominee's birthday fell on Tuesday. The logic does not matter. What matters is finding some pretext to block the process when democracy is not breaking their way. And frankly, this strategy is short-sighted for Mike Johnson. Eventually, he will have to swear a Genhava. He is doing right now is buying himself on a day at a time. I discussed the possibility of Johnson indefinitely delaying Grava's swearing in with Congressman Dan Goldman, who told me this. He cannot keep Representative-elect Yahweh out of House forever. At some point, he is going to have swear her in. Maybe he is thinking, try me, challenge accepted. But the reality is, she will eventually be Senate. She will be signed the discharge petition, and it should then come to the floor for vote. But if Mike Johnson is willing to keep her out of the House for nearly 3 weeks, when most members elect are sworn in within 24 hours, who knows what he will do when the rules are and norms say the discharge petition has to come to the floor.
Let me give you an example. When Trump implements tariffs under some of the statutes, it is required to come before Congress in order to be essentially ratified. Congress gets a say to endorse the tariffs and the rationale for the tariffs. And it requires, I think there are 15 session days before it is ripe to come to the floor. Mike Johnson literally put in one of the rules that Republicans generally have to pass in order to bring a bill to the floor for a simple majority vote. He literally put in the rules that the clock on that particular bill introduced by House Foreign Affairs Committee ranking member Greg Meeks would stop. So it would never get to 15 days and it would never be ripe for a vote, so that the Republicans would never have to vote on Trump's tariffs. So that just shows you the lengths that he will go to avoid normal process, regular order, and frankly, what the statute and law requires to protect Donald Trump and to supplicate himself to the president.
Once again, expecting these Republicans to play by the rules only makes you look foolish. They are not playing the same game, and they are certainly not partners in democracy. They will protect to be defenders of democratic principle when it benefits them and abandon those principles entirely when it does not. And right now, it does not. So when the left cries, that's not fair, those are not the rules, we only reveals our own naivety. They have shown us time and again that they do not care about the rules. We are playing classic while they are flipping the board. The only thing worse than what the GOP is doing is Democrats' refusal to recognize it. That's why reasoning with them is not enough. They have to be defeated decisively when we must ensure they never gain hold the power to undermine the democracy. You would not step onto social field where one team plays freely while the other has bigs tied to their ankles. Yet that's exactly what's happening here. Democrats cannot win against a Republican Party that does not acknowledge rules, norms, or fairness. And now those same Republicans are working to entrench their majorities prominently. So I am urging everyone watching, take responsibility for your own circle. Find 5, 10 people, friends, family, co-workers, and make sure they understand what's at stake in the midterms and in the upcoming election days away. If they live in New Jersey, Virginia, Pennsylvania, voting is already open. If they live in California, tell them to support Prop 50 to counter the GOP power grabs in Texas, Missouri, North Carolina, and Ohio. This is 5-alarm fire, and we need everyone engaged to make sure we do not lose our democracy for good.